What's up, everybody? It's America's Credit and Finance Drill Sergeant, the Rough Rev, otherwise known as King Bay, coming to you live from the studio with another banger. Hey, look, the last time we talked about velocity banking. We talked about recycling your money, using it 2 and 3 times. We also talked about mortgages and mortgage amortizations and how to pay your mortgage off early. I felt like I did you a disservice, so I want to go into a little bit more detail in addition to discussing some other things. But I want to motivate you. I want to inspire you. I want you to realize that whatever you focus your mind on, you can achieve. If you can believe it and you can internalize it, you can achieve it, even in a pandemic. And as I said the last time, this pandemic has forced many of us into a situation where we have to learn a new way to survive. And it's actually to our benefit because we've been real lazy and real lax and real comfortable, and now we uncomfortable, and it's like the universe is stretching us to be all that we can be, not just for the U.S. Army, but for ourselves, for our children, for our futures. All right? So I'm gonna put you down with some information today on mortgage. Remember we talked about the $1,000 a month mortgage. The $1,000 a month mortgage that we have, or that maybe some of you guys have, out of that $1,000, remember, they front end load all the interest on these mortgages. So out of $1,000, $999.50 is going toward interest, and only 50 cents going toward principal. That's crazy, right? But this is how they stretch out something that should only take 7 or 8 years. They stretch it into 30 years. They stretch it, and they make you pay 3 times what you borrow. It's absolutely insane. It should be criminal, but that's business in America. Now, growing up in church and in Sunday school, I remember reading the scripture that said, God always has a more excellent way. I'm going to show you a more excellent way to get out of this criminal activity that these banks got you involved in. Oh, by the way, let me explain to you the definition of mortgage. Most people don't know that comes from mortgage. A mortier, like mortician. Mortgage means engaged till death. They want you to stay in debt, keep refinancing until you die, and then they just take the house back. That's crazy. Let me give you a jolt to breathe some life back into your situation. This $1,000 a month, $999.50 going toward interest, 50 cents goes toward principal. The next payment, $999 goes toward interest, only $1 goes toward principal. The next payment, only $1.50 goes toward principal, $998.50. As you see, the amount that goes toward the principal and goes toward the interest drops, the amount that goes toward the principal goes up. But it happens in such small increments that you never actually get into the meat of paying your loan off, which is how they stretch something that should take 7 or 8 years into 30 years and then make you pay 3 times what you borrowed. All right? So if you look, all of these, $999.50, $999, $98.50, $998, $97, and so forth and so forth and so on. Now, the question is this. The thing is this. How do you get around this? How do you get around? Who is calling me at the exact wrong time? Leave me alone. I'm busy. It's funny how people call you when you're in the middle of handling your business. In any case, how do you get around this? All right? Very, 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 very simple. You make payments toward the principal before the interest has accrued. When you wait until that due date, all the interest accrued, then you make that $1,000 payment and only 50 cents going toward principal. But if you make that payment before that due date, that interest accrues, then all your money goes toward the principal side of this equation. In this particular example, let's say when you first get the loan, you make a payment. Now here again, this is going to be higher or lower depending on your interest rate. Some of y'all have lower credit scores, you got a higher interest rate. You got a higher credit score, you got a lower interest rate. So this is just an average. But let's say, for example, in this particular case, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 payments. Let's say you took the total of all that money that goes toward principal and you cut them a check for $33. The day you go to close it, and you write with it a 1-paragraph letter saying this payment to be designated toward principal only. Do not escrow, apply immediately toward principal. Now, of course, when that first payment date rolls around, you make your first payment. But what happens is there's a powerful exponential thing that happens. The same way compound interest works against you when you make late payments or you don't make a payment at all, it compounds. Well, it actually reverses and works for you when you make the payment before the interest has accrued. So what happens is that $33 goes all the way down the principal side of this equation. Then what happens is it eliminates each one of these interest payments. These 11 interest payments, when you total them, it ends up being $10,967. You make a $33 investment and it saves you 10 grand. Oh, and by the way, it exponentially hyperspaces you into your loan a year, so you just turn a 30-year loan into a 29-year loan. Well, Rough Red, what if I paid a whole $1,000, which is what I suggested before? Then all of those payments go toward the principal side. It might take you 3 to 5 years, 6 years into your loan. It can end up saving you $30,000 or $40,000 and exponentially moving you into your loan, taking a 30-year loan and turning it into a 24 or 25-year loan. I mean, the thing is incredible. At the end of the day, what you got to realize is learn how to make these things work for your benefit rather than working against you. All right? And this is a powerful, powerful, very simple way. If you did that first payment today, you got your mortgage. And then every 3 months, you just make an extra payment toward principal. Every time you do that, you hyperself your space into your loan another 6 months, another year, and you're eliminating all of this interest. So instead of borrowing $100,000 and paying them back $350,000, you may only pay them $60,000 or $70,000 in interest. So you borrow $150,000 and you pay back $210,000 or $220,000 instead of borrowing $150,000 and paying back $450,000. You just save yourself $200,000. See, the problem in this country, we're so spoiled. I just got back from South America where I saw people on the street, Venezuelan people that had come over the border into Colombia because things are so bad in Venezuela. And they're looking to sell you a stick of gum because they're so hungry. They're scrounging for survival. They're washing your windows for a little coin. They're selling you one little piece of candy for 2 cents. I mean, I saw the wealth and I saw the abundance in downtown Barranquilla, but I was trying to find a friend of mine's house and we had to go into one of the barrios. Like the favelas in Brazil. Man, I'm like, yo, we are so blessed in this country, but we piss money away. I just looked on the internet and saw that the average price of the new PS5 is $1,200. And people standing in line for them, 36 hours fighting for them. Got to get this game. And it's sad that in this country, people spend more time planning a vacation or planning how they're going to get the new game or the latest iPhone than they do planning their financial future. Let me say this to you. If you don't have a freedom plan to get you and your family free, you're automatically on the slave plan. You're going to be in debt, engaged to debt until death. Like mortgage, the definition of mortgage means engaged to death. And remember, this is just your mortgage. Let's not even add to it the credit cards, the school loan debt, the commercial loan debt. All these interest rates add up. With all of this, your combined interest rate, you might be paying 40 or 50 or 60%. That's like mob interest. You'll never get out of debt. That's the design in this country. You can't keep falling for the bullshit. The one thing that amazes me in this pandemic, people are still spending money. They're not being conservative. They get the little stimulus or unemployment money and it spoils them. And they're acting like everything is beautiful. Well, when this stimulus shit is cut off the beginning of the year and all of these referendums and these state programs that let you stay in your apartment or your house, that shit is over. The reality is coming. My thing is, you need to get ready because remember what I said, if you don't make a move on life, life is going to make a move on you and you be TKO on the ground. What happened? Don't have to be that way. So I'm saying to you, one of the things you want to jump on is this mortgage plan. If you can do this, the first payment, and then once every 3 months, make an extra payment toward principal, you could pay your loan off in 7 to 10 years. And then you could plan ahead. This way you plan, okay, honey, we're going to have the mortgage paid off by this date. Then we can invest in that business we want to start. Or we can start funding our child's college plan, so she don't have to be in debt forever, like a lot of these kids getting out of school with $500,000 in debt. They get a $60,000 a year job. They only bring home 35, 38, maybe 40. They'll never get out of debt. That's the plan. That's the slavery plan that this land of the free, home of the brave has for you. But there's a more excellent way. I'm going to show you. The same way you apply this to your mortgage, pay off your mortgage, you can do the same thing to your credit cards. You can do the same thing to your auto loans. You can do the same thing to any finance debt that has interest. You can end up, why is this thing looking crooked? I'm sorry. It's looking real crooked. Why is it that we just fall for their plan? Develop your freedom plan, right? To be out of debt by a certain date. And then you can make moves. You can make that move on that investment property that you wanted to buy. You can go invest in that property in another country, get some land in Africa. All kind of countries in Africa are offering us land. They want us to come home and what they call repatriate, like come back home. If America don't love you, I'm thinking about it. I went to Colombia on a fact-finding mission. I realized that's not for me, but I'm still looking, because we got to have a backup plan, because this country has already showed us they don't love us. They've already showed, aside from the fact that they have their foot on our necks financially, I'm saying to you there's a more excellent way. Now, if you can do that when you first get your loan, and then even if you just did it every 6 months, you can exponentially move into your mortgage, pay your mortgage off in 7 to 10 years. Then you can start making these other moves. Then you're financially free. If the main breadwinner dies, the wife and the children can stay in the home and maintain their standard of living, because they had a freedom plan that they were going to be financially free by a certain date. You got to plan this stuff out. Plan this stuff out. Now, let me ask you a question. You know, years and years and years ago, I had a friend, when I was in D.C., I had a friend that I met that was connected with Allen Iverson. And it's like they used to talk about me, and he's asked, you know, what is he doing with kids? I was always doing something with kids. He appreciated what I was doing. I never got the opportunity to meet him. And I told him, I said, dude, why don't you arrange for me to meet with him? I said, I have some financial things that I could show him, how he could put his money to work. I said, because those attorneys and those financial planners, I said, the only thing they're planning to do is get the money out of his pocket into theirs. And he was like, oh, they got attorneys for that. They got CPA. They got financial planners. But somehow these guys still end up losing their money. I was doing some work for the New York Knicks organization one time, right? And I talked to the lady who was in charge of promotions and marketing for doing stuff with kids. I talked to her. I said, what's the possibility of allowing me to come in and speak to some of the players about their money? She goes, oh, we already have financial planners to do that, and we have attorneys, we have this. I said, yeah, but these players are still going broke. How is it they got a CPA, they got an accountant, they got 2 attorneys, they got some other investment person, but they still lose all their damn money? And she kind of got an attitude with me, because I was adamant about the fact that all over the NBA and the NFL, these people have these planners, these financial people, and their only scam is to get the money out of these players' pockets into theirs. I never got an opportunity to meet with Allen, and then when Allen fell on hard times, he had spent all his money, blew all his investments. I was just sitting there thinking like, wow, I wish I had had the opportunity to talk to him. Now, he's not flat broke, because David Falk, his attorney, did set up something where he couldn't touch certain things until he was 45 or 50. That's the only reason why he's not broke. But at the end of the day, every one of these players, they make millions. They end up broke. How is it the old man with the barbershop retires with $3 million in the bank, and people laugh at him because he's sweeping hair all day? He's sweeping hair. He's selling brushes and hair care products. He got 10 chairs. He getting $100 a week from each one of those chairs booth rent. He getting $1,000 a week, $4,000 a month. And he's sweeping hair, and people laughing at him because he got an old pickup truck. How is it that this dude ends up rich, and these players that get millions end up broke? Your mindset and your plan. A lot of these old school dudes, they don't have a really elaborate plan. It's basic, but they follow it and they stick to it, and they do not deviate. That's the way you gotta be like a warrior with this shit. Because at the end of the day, this is financial war. These people are coming at you to get your shit. They want your house, they want your car. After my father died, man, it was funny how, it was crazy how these people were hovering like vultures, trying to see what they could get, and I was fighting them off. I had to grow up real fast. I had to go from this quiet little church boy into a beast. I don't apologize for the beast that I am now, because they made me this fucking way. Trying to take shit, I was like, back the hell up. That's why I had to learn that law. I had to learn about credit. I had to learn about contracts, all of that shit. And at the end of the day, I realized, yo, this land of the free, home of the brave is some bullshit. These people are trying to get you. Damn, why they want to stick me for my paper? Damn, why they want to stick me for my paper? Remember Biggie said that? That's what they're doing every day. So you have to have a freedom plan. A lot of these players, they don't even have a money plan. How is this the single mom who was on public assistance, who has 3 children, went back to school, got a degree, worked full-time, went to school full-time, then graduated, got a degree, then started her own company. And she's blowing up. And these professional athletes just blowing through money. Like, part of it is, if you have a poverty mindset, you'll always have a natural propensity to go right back to poverty, no matter how much money you get. And see, a lot of it is right here between our ears. These people get money. Shaq talks about how he spent $1 million in a day and how he went through his first contract like it was nothing because he bought his mom a car, he bought his father a car, he bought this one, that one, the other one. He knew he had more money coming. Eventually, he ran into a good financial planner that saved his ass. But at the end of the day, it's sad because it doesn't have to be. Now, realize there's no shortage of money in the world. You just have to figure out how to maneuver it to get it into your wallet and your bank account. So I say to you, as you begin to develop your freedom plan, let this be a part of it. Try to apply this principle to all of your debts, your car loan, your school loan, not just your mortgage, your credit cards especially, because they got the highest interest. You could pay that minimum payment forever. You be in retirement, you and your wife in a retirement home. Hey, baby, you sent off the Amex payment? Yeah, baby, I sent off that $60. You'll never pay that shit off. You got to have a plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Remember the old man with the barbershop? People laughing at him, but he had a plan and he stuck to it. That's all you got to do. Just show a little bit of discipline. It's not even hard. It's not even hard. So at the end of the day, if you're eliminating all these mortgage interest payments, and you're saving $10,000, and then another $10,000, and then another $12,000, pretty soon, 5-7 years, you're out of debt. Now, I want you to think about something. As I said, that new Xbox, that new PS5, these things, $1,000, $1,200, $900, and people standing in line to sit and do this all day. And I don't have anything against gamers, but my thing is, why can't you dedicate, see, this is the other thing. When you're dwelling on something for a long period of time, that's a form of prayer. It's called meditation. If you're on the internet for hours, if you're watching Netflix for hours, if you're playing video games for hours, you are worshiping at the throne of the God of technology. You have become what they call a technophile because you're addicted to that thing and you're meditating, you're praying over that thing. My thing is, why can't you dedicate that way, be that dedicated to yourself? Why can't you be that dedicated to your finance? Why can't you be that dedicated to fucking getting out of debt? Why can't you be that dedicated to funding your child's college plan so they don't get out of school with a noose around their neck, strangling them? These debts that these people got. Why can't you, in this pandemic, figure out a new way to live? The universe is forcing us. It's pushing us. Some of y'all are rebelling against it. You don't want it. But like I said, if you don't have a freedom plan, you're choosing slavery by default. Now, my thing is, I realize that just giving people financial information isn't enough. I realize I have to motivate. I have to inspire. I have to get beyond the bullshit. Because in order to talk to somebody and reach somebody, sometimes you got to weed through sadness and depression and melancholy and frustration and anger and all this shit to get to that person to talk to them. That's what I'm trying to do. Because I've had to weed through all of that in my own life. When my mom passed, I didn't want to live. My mom was basically murdered by a doctor that gave her some medicine that she wasn't supposed to have. I just filed a lawsuit against him. He's fortunate that I let him even walk the planet. But I've decided I'm going to kill him financially. I didn't even want to live. I had to fight my way through that sadness and depression, just like many of y'all fighting your way through certain things, and you're dealing with family members, husband, wife cheating, whatever. It's life. But you gotta man up, woman up. You're stronger than that. When I saw those people on the streets of Colombia selling a stick of gum, I was like, well, damn. I was like, what the fuck? They just come up and wipe your windows off, like hoping and praying that you give them something. Some people would just drive off and not give them nothing. And I'm looking like, wow. We got stimulus, we got this, we got retirement, we got money in the bank. We got money in the bank and won't pay our bills. Because psychologically, emotionally, that poverty mindset that even when you have money, you don't pay your bills because you're so scared you hold on to them. See, you got to deprogram yourself from that negativity. There's plenty of wealth in the world. Understand, the wealth, look, it's abundant. God's measure is abundance. He don't have no shortage. It's just a matter of you tapping into it. If you're following their plan, yeah, you got reason to be scared. But if you can take the insight from meditation and prayer and trying to calculate and figure and getting with knowledgeable people like me to help you develop a plan, you can figure your way out of this shit. You can pay off your house early. You can pay off your car early. You can get your kids out of debt. You don't have to put your kids on credit cards and cell phones and gas and electric payment and mess their credit up. You don't have to do that. There's another way. There is a more excellent way. And I say to you that you want to be like that old man with the barbershop. Because remember, you can always go back to business as usual. But remember, if you always do what you've always done, then you always have what you have right now. Don't you want something different? Don't you want to be free? Don't you want your children? Look, if you don't want it for yourself, at least desire it for your children. Because you know, this generation that's coming up now, they're not as tough as we were. Many of them are not going to be able to handle it. Many of them are choosing suicide, jumping off bridges, putting guns to their because they're weak. And I'm saying to you, if you have a child growing up in this generation, you better plan something for them or they're not going to be able to stand. Because this shit is getting real deep. We're in a pandemic, whole new way of living. You're going to have to figure out how to make money from home or with a small business because you can't go to work and you can't go to school. You're going to need to start to educate your kids. I'm going to suggest a couple good books. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. You need to make all your children read that. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. He's got several other books in that series. You need to make them read all of them and do a book report on them. Because the school system ain't... Look, I used to work in the school system. They're teaching these kids very little that they really can apply to real life. I told you, I went through school and got a bachelor's degree. Didn't learn anything about money until I started studying it on my own. Even law. I know law better than most attorneys. Because I was studying that shit on my own. Why? Because my ass was on the line. I was handling my father's estate. And I had to figure out how to deal with all this shit. And at the end of the day, if you don't want better for yourself, at least want better for your children. Try to set them up so that they could avoid some of the pitfalls that you made and that they'll be ready and prepared for the future. Now, I have an ebook that I'm in the process of finishing. It's been a while. It's been a long time coming, but it's coming. And what I want to do is I want you guys to hit me up at superstarfinancial.info or superstarfinancial@gmail.com and email me your financial story. I want to help 5 people get their money and their finance and their credit together. Give them some free credit restoration, some free financial planning. I want you guys to email me your story. Tell me what it is that you're dealing with financially as far as credit, mortgage, money management, credit cards, that type of thing. And I'll probably get with you, either do a Zoom session or just a regular phone call, a series of phone calls, and put some stuff together to help you to move forward so that you can feel like you're on the way to freedom. rather than just going in a circle and then you end up in the same place you started. Isn't that frustrating? That's frustrating as fuck for me. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, it's America's Credit and Finance Drill Sergeant, the Rough Rev, otherwise known as King Bay. I just wanted to give you a little bit more detailed breakdown in this so you can actually see how powerful this is. Apply this to all of your finance accounts, all your accounts that have interest. It doesn't just apply to the mortgage. You can do this with credit cards, bank loans, all of that. And this shit will get you free. A simple plan. The other thing is this. I have something I'm working on for professional athletes, and it's called Before I Go Broke. Isn't that an interesting title? And it shows them a plan of how they can maneuver their money so that they don't ever get to the point where they just ass out. A lot of these guys don't understand. They should be open nonprofit organizations. Doing like Bill Gates at the end of the year, instead of paying all that money in taxes, they can donate money to their own nonprofit. But then what happens is they still can control how that money gets designated. They can do some good, buy some kids some computers, get kids new athletic equipment, or work on some social cause. But they still have control over it, and they took a tax deduction. That's why the government came after Bill Gates. Years ago, they said he had an unfair trade advantage. No, what it was, when he and his wife formed the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and they realized, hey, we're paying millions, billions of dollars to the government every year. Wait a minute, let's form our own nonprofit, donate money, all that money we were paying taxes, let's donate it to our own nonprofit at the end of the year, and then let's do some good with it. Smooth move. Why are these athletes not doing this? Why are these professional athletes spending $500,000 on a car when they can make an investment of $500,000 or $700,000 and own a fucking dealership? Duh. Hey, understand something. All these professional athletes have financial planners, CPAs, attorneys. They still end up going broke. But the old man in a barbershop retires with $3 million. You know why? Because he had good common sense and he had a simple plan and he followed it and he stuck to it. Some of y'all need to get with me for real. I'm that dude. And there was a guy on the Philadelphia Eagles some years ago. I'm not going to mention his name. I was doing some contracting for a guy who had a firm that managed some of these athletes, right? And I was doing some contracting for him. And there was a particular athlete that was trying to get a refinance on his mortgage, but he had bad credit. Well, I did the credit repair behind the scenes. He refinanced, got another mortgage, saved like $1,200 a month, lowered his interest rate the whole nine. But at the end of the day, I never got credit for it. This guy that owned the company got credit for it. But I was the guy behind the scenes, and I've done that several times for several famous people. I'm not going to put them on blast. I'm not going to do that. But at the end of the day, when you see these guys like Madoff, they have these big offices and they have big this and big that, a lot of times it may as well be a fake-ass Hollywood backdrop. I'm here in my studio, which is my spare bedroom, getting it in with you guys, trying to drop science because I'm that dude. I know what time it is. And actually, I had the big house. I had a couple of big houses with the cars and the swimming pools and all. And guess what? You know what it did? All that shit did was weigh me down. So I'm like the Marine that I've been trained to be. I operate light. I need to be able to move quick, stealth. I don't need a whole lot of shit. Couple cars that's paid off. This house and one other investment property that I'm getting money from. I don't need a whole lot of shit. I ain't nobody I'm trying to impress. I'm trying to be smart, especially now in the pandemic. A lot of you guys that know professional athletes, you're connected to professional, or people that get money that don't know what to do with it. One of the guys in my real estate office said he got approached by a bunch of millionaires that have all this money, they don't know what to do with it, and they don't want it in the bank because the bank's only paying them 0.00001%. Inflation's hitting them 5-6%, so they losing 5% for having money in the damn bank. What do they want to do? They want to put it into some investments. I'm talking to them about cash value life insurance, like I talked to you guys about, starting a nonprofit, donating money to their own nonprofit. This is strategy. These are freedom plans, folks. And if you can't do it on a major level, get together with a group of people and do it as a group. And then you can beat the government at its own game. Anyway, remember, y'all better get ready. You better get ready because you think this pandemic has already put us in a bad spot. It's going to get worse. They're talking about food shortages, housing shortages. They're talking about like The government making major shutdowns. North Jersey, they just did a full shutdown. New York, they're talking about doing it. Like, it's crazy. How are people going to live? You better figure it out. Remember, because if you don't make a move on life, life is going to make a move on you. How'd y'all like that fight last night? Man, let me tell you, let me give a quick fight review. Tyson. Roy Jones Jr. is a punk ass because all he did was clinch the whole fight and run from Mike. Mike didn't break a sweat. He was there to battle. He was there to war. And Roy Jones Jr. is lucky they came out with a draw. I don't know where they found these judges from because Mike hit him a couple times and knocked his lights out. I was loving that shit. 51, go get him, Mike. Us old school niggas, we still got it. Whop. Look, anyway, at the end of the day, it's America's Credit and Finance Drill Sergeant saying, get ready. If you don't make a move on life, life's going to make a move on you. I suggest you move first. Peace.